As promised, and since we've been talking a bit about GSF for fun and profit, we've brought on Stask, another of our leaders in AIE, to talk about it. That and more on this episode of the SWTOR Escape podcast from newoverlords.com. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 465. And standing by in the pipe, 5x5, as she always is Seema. Hello there, Seema. How's it going?
Hi, Max. Going pretty well. I've been playing my Rodian Mayo. Still leveling him. He's
I
like
still
level
laugh every time
65.
I hear that.
And he was the one of my characters this week that did the Galactic Seasons target of 2x CX CZ198. You had a choice between doing that 2 times or the weekly on Osis, I think. But I just did CZ198 because it's super easy to do, so I did that. Very crowded though, so I guess I wasn't the only one with that idea.
Yeah. It was crowded in a few different places. Hey, Seema, just before we get too far off, because the chat room's demanding it, can you give us a doot?
Doot!
What else have you been up to?
Hey,
I guess that means audio's working.
Yes.
We had a night off from our raid team tonight because we were missing a couple of our bros, as you put it.
As we said in the pre-show, if we don't got a bro, we ain't gonna go. That's what we say starting 5 minutes
now.
ago when I invented that.
We never used to
phrase.
say it, but now we say it. We don't
There
got
we
our
go.
bro. We don't go. So yeah, I've been having a pretty normal week of doing basically the easy conquest targets. And this week is going to be a low Galactic Seasons week for me, so I'm going to end up with 5 instead of 7. That's just how it's working out. And I'm just almost to that 5.
Cool.
So not a lot going on over here, actually. What's up with you, Max?
Well, before we get to me, why don't we introduce, as we said, we've got one of the new leaders in AIE, but been around for quite a while, and a great person to come in and talk about, as you'll hear more about, GSF, because he's running one of our GSF groups with a couple other people, is Stask. Hey, Stask, how's it going, and what have you been up to?
hey guys. I've been up to a whole lot. Doing a lot of the season stuff this week. Galactic seasons, PvP seasons, Conquest, and flying here and there.
That is a lot of season stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the busy season for seasons right now.
'Tis the seasons, yes.
So, yeah, last night we had our PvP group run, and it was with what were the 2 objectives?
Did
Stay
you?
on target for GSF, and then we have decorated combatant for ground. So we split into 2 groups.
And did you do both of them?
I got the GSF one done earlier, but we had one group doing space and one group doing ground. So
Got
it was a good time. Won a couple matches. I think the guys that were flying had some pretty good luck from what Machete told me. So fun was had by all.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then how's the Friday? Are you going to fly again tomorrow night?
I will not be. I have real life commitments tomorrow night.
No way.
I believe. All right. It feels weird saying it too. Hanging out in the meat space, but Machete will be flying. So if anybody wants to get those medals for GSF for the season's objective, join up with Machete.
Cool. And we'll mention that again when we get to guild news as well. We'll talk about those in more detail. But yeah, that's not every Friday, but a lot of Fridays, and most Wednesdays are these 2 extra groups, as we've talked about in the past. I have also been doing Conquest and Galactic Season. I'm not doing the PvP season track, although I'm almost halfway because of what the Galactic Season objectives were this week. There was to get the medals in PvP and in GSF both. I'm done with both of those already. I finished them yesterday, actually. Or maybe I finished them this morning. I did. So I did most of my medals for PvP for non GSF medals via arenas. I find it much easier and much quicker to get all the medals I need running arenas for PvP than running full war zones. Because you get about the same. Win or lose, you get about the same. Because if you lose, you're only going to get a couple medals in arenas or war zones, and if you win, you're going to get a big stack of medals. And I find I can even get more medals on average if I win an arena. I'll get like 10, 11 medals if I win an arena. And if I win a regular war zone, depending on how quick it goes, you have like a really fast hot ball or something, you might only get like, 5 or 6, even though your whole team went fast and won, because of the way those medals sometimes work. So yeah, I did that, and then I did GSF, and GSF. We'll talk about it for that. You really got to get those domination matches. You can get a handful of medals off of the deathmatch style games as well, but the domination matches are where it's at to rack up a bunch of medals, and then you can get like 10 medals, dozen medals, by just sitting on a satellite and blasting anybody who comes by in the face. So that's what I did. I finished all of Galactic Season for the week already. So I did the gravestone. It's the gravestone chapter, right?
From the
Chapter 5?
grave.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So chapter 5, it was a challenge. Just one or two parts. Any of the boss fights, super simple, barely inconvenience. It's when there was just like a strong and two, or like an elite and a strong, and you got to fight those. And when they would like get rid of your companion, I had this one point where I was playing it on my assassin, and I was dying really in like 3 seconds, because they were doing 40. The strong, it was strong and two normals, and the strong was hitting for 45k a hit, and you only got 140k health. So the strong's hitting for 45k. Each of the regulars are only hitting for 10k a hit, but that's combined 20k. So that's 60k a hit, like two global cooldowns, and you're dead. And I've got no CC because they're droids on my assassin, so that was getting frustrating. But I got around it. In fact, I think I got around it due to a bug, because I went out and I was going to try to do something else, and then I went back in there and they had despawned. I was like, oh well, because I died to them like twice and got frustrated.
Well,
Um,
that's weird that they would despawn under. I don't get that.
yeah, I don't know. It was like, yeah, as I said, it was kind of buggy, because every time I would kill them. In fact, if I would like kill like the two regulars and the strong like finished me off, the two regulars would respawn, and you couldn't like kill one of them and like vanish and then go back.
Right.
That just wouldn't work. So yeah, so I did that, and then I did uh, the Secrets of the Enclave, because you can do that story mode solo, do the bonus boss in there. It is not very stealth friendly, unfortunately. A lot of those packs of mobs. It's weird. There's detector droids, and those seem broken. Those weren't detecting me, but any of just the packs of Republic squad members were doing a lot of detecting, and I had to kill a lot of them.
Yeah, I don't mind the droids that detect, or actually anything that detects you if there's a visible aspect to it. But when you just pop out like randomly, it seems like I don't like that as much.
Right. But that is all done for the week, and yeah, as I said, let me do a quick little check. I'm not gonna do it, but I am a third. I guess I'm like a third done with the PvP objectives for the week, but I don't really feel like doing 9 more arena matches as an example. So to get the 16 for the week, so I'm probably not gonna do that. But yeah, it was fun. As I as I said, I will do GSF and PvP every time it comes up in Galactic Seasons. I'm just not going to do the PvP season because it's a lot. That is what I've been up to. We do have a little bit of news this week, though. Let's check in on that.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
Are we ready? Sorry, I couldn't hear the.
Oh, sorry, I turned it down for you. There you go. What do we got in the news, Seema?
Well, we had a small game update this week, 7.2.1b, which is mostly bug fixes, and the one that stood out to us basically is fix several floor issues in the Eternity Vault operation, because we hilariously ran into that one a couple of weeks ago. And that's basically
Yeah.
the floor, the dropping floors that you have to jump down to, the floors being invisible, so you have to sort of have faith and remember where the floors should be. And this is it's hilarious because it's a problem that comes and goes with that fight.
Right. Right. But it
And
was really bad. I mean, it was.
this was the worst I'd seen it, because there have been times when you could sort of jury riggily fix it by like looking up and down real fast a couple times and then they would pop in.
Yeah.
But this was not doing that.
Nope.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so they said they fixed it. We'll be the judge of that. It was my only comment on that.
I mean, I feel like I'm not even going to be the judge of that,
Right.
even if it is fixed, because, there'll be other software updates.
Right. We'll see how that goes.
But aside from that, it's mostly bug fixes, like, special characters now correctly copied on character names when you transfer a character from the website, which I can't imagine. That would be pretty disconcerting if you got to your new website and somehow your name didn't have the right characters, or maybe it just prevented the copy at all. I don't know, but that seems like a good one to fix.
Yep. Yeah. And then some bunch of other minor stuff. Anything else jump out at you in there? I
I
didn't
mean, there
see
was
too much
also a
more.
hot fix they had to do for some colorblind stuff that was flickering. So I see that they continue to work on the colorblind stuff. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that came out a little bit after it was a known issue. They did put in a hot fix to try to do some of that. No, they put in the fix to try to fix some of the flickering, and then they had to put in a hot fix to
Oh, is
take
that
it
what it
back
was?
out.
Yeah.
Right, because the fix actually broke something with the colorblind stuff. So they put in a hot fix to take that fix back out, and they said
Oh,
that
I
will,
see. I read that one wrong. Okay.
yeah, they'll rebuild that fix in a way that doesn't break the colorblind mode and put it back for 7.3. So that's also coming up. And we got some May. They put up the note on the May events too, right, Simo? What do we got coming up in May that we can let Corley know, so we can do
Oh,
them on
yeah.
Tuesday nights?
Yeah, I forgot. Let's see. Well, okay, coming early in May. Well, first of all, let me just say May 3rd, we're going to have the live stream
Right, I forgot
where
about
they're going
that.
to talk about 7.3. Yeah, I put that on my calendar, and so it'll give me half of a chance to remember. Um, but May 2nd to May 9th is going to be Bounty Contract Week. May 16th to May 23rd is going to be swoop races.
Nice.
And then after that, going into June, it'll be Rat Ghouls after that.
See, that was one of the reasons I was looking to not do the PvP season. Is I'm still behind. I haven't finished all of the rep on the swoop races.
Yeah.
And now I will have a little bit more free time to be able to do something like that, which is fun. Also, we do know that a bit of news came up. An interesting news article came up out of StarWars.com, and this came up this morning on StarWars.com. And as of this afternoon, I'm sure it'll end up there relatively soon, but as of this afternoon, it is not on SWTOR.com. It's only on StarWars.com. And what StarWars.com has for May the 4th is a listing of all of the games and experience deals for Star Wars-ish kind of games. And featured relatively high up in the list, the third one down is Star Wars The Old Republic. So we get a droid mini pet when logging in for the May the 4th, and it's anytime between the 4th and the 18th. And then it will be a double XP event and a collection sale.
And it's a really nice screenshot showing the mini pet and Yavin 4 in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool little mini pet, and then collection sale is kind of a big deal, and a double XP event, which I'm sure is probably also, it tends to be, it doesn't say it in here, but that also tends to be like double valor as well, if you're in need of that. So we'll see if we get that too. Regardless, double XP, if you got any characters you want to bring up, that's a good time to do it. And collection sale, getting those legacy unlocks of anything that you wanted to still make make part of your legacy-wide collection. That's what I saved some extra cartel coins always for, is to do a bunch of legacy unlocks during the collection sale. Really good idea to do. In
Wonder
guild
if
and what's that?
I wonder if they'll still do that around Christmas time, because don't they usually at the end of the year, don't they do a series of sales?
They do a couple. They do a couple different kinds, and they do those collection sales relatively often. So we'll see. I actually, this isn't guaranteed that this is like the total, like the legacy unlock broad discount. It could be a different collection sale. Once in a while they'll do like a special discounted item each day. They've done that kind of thing before. So I hope it's just the general sale, but we'll see. Guild and community news. Since we've got Stask on, in addition to our mandatory fun nights on Tuesday night for AIE, our guild, why don't you give us another rundown, Stask, of what the Wednesday and Friday things actually are and what people should do to join you?
Well, first off, people should absolutely join us. But Wednesday nights we start around sometimes between 7 and 7:30. It's a pretty casual group. We run both factions, any of the brackets, low B, mid B, or 80s. We just get together and hang out and run war zones, work on a weekly, or like this week we worked on the season's objective. And it's a super fun group. We have a lot of good people in there. Just enjoy each other's company and also enjoy beating up on other pixels.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done it a couple times, both the Wednesday and the Friday. Wednesday tends to be more PvP. Friday tends to be more GSF. But as you said, last night, because it's a big Galactic season objective, you guys split and did them both. It's nice to have a group to get some of those kinds of things done too. Because if you're doing anything with a group, it's more fun.
Yeah, I've always said PvP's, it's a lot easier to deal with the misery with friends than it is by yourself.
Right.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
There's plenty of suffering to go around, but if you can do it with some pals, it's a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. A couple other guild news items. Another one that I wanted to bring up because we're finishing it up this weekend. This week for AIE Guild is a week of one-shots, a D&D event across our greater community, aie-guild.org. You can go to Discord. You can see in the D&D channels. There's a couple more one-shots coming up this weekend. There's a couple spots open for a dungeon crawl with Hoots, which is one of our longtime leaders in the guild, which is actually Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So it might be right after this podcast is coming out if you're not listening live. And then there's a few spots left open for the SCP Containment Breach campaign with Duskmire on Sunday. But these have been running all week, and this is a really cool opportunity to very casually get into a D&D one-shot campaign. If you're D&D curious, the DMs will help you out. They'll help you create what you need to create, get you the, roll 20 or whatever you need to have set up. It's all relatively easy, low bar, and then they'll walk you through it and you have a lot of fun. So cool. One other thing I wanted to call out, because I saw this when I was on Droman Kos this morning. Why was I on Droman Kos? I was meditating. Oh, I skipped over that. I did finally, because I finished up Galactic Season and I tried to get all those 12 pointers done, I did manage to get around to finally doing the meditation thing with Amity. And I did it on Droman Kos. So I did it. I worked it out. I figured it out. I did it. I didn't do it as optimally as I could. If you stop right at 50, then you could switch maps. You don't want to get to 51. But I had to stop at 48 or 49 because there was enough people there where it was ticking two at a time or 3 at a time. Yeah. So if I had, there's no way I was going to stop right at 50. But then if you stop at 49, you got to do 5 locations. But I just kept switching maps until it wouldn't let me switch maps anymore. And then I just came back later and did
But you know what you could do?
What could I do?
Is if you let it get to 51, then you could do 10 minutes of push-ups.
The in-game push-ups that Thon always does, which got the sound effect.
No, I was
thinking
right
of
next
when you
to
people. He sneaks up
used to
behind
tell me
you
when
and
you
does
make
push-ups.
tea in the mornings, you would do
Yes.
push-ups for the 3 minutes it took the water to
That's what
boil.
we do when we have extra time.
I mean, in my case, if I would get up and go, empty the dishwasher or whatever, but,
I was
you could do
excited. It was the
push-ups.
last thing I had to do in Galactic Season, and I was excited to get it done. And I wanted to try to push it to like do it the fastest way. So,
Mhm.
but I did it at one point when it was going to be like, well, you got to wait 3 minutes before you can switch maps again. I just shut it down and came back like 10 minutes later. So yes, I could have just let it get to 51 and come back 10 minutes later. Would have been perfectly fine.
Or, I mean,
Or switch
yes, you don't have to
characters,
wait. You
or
don't have to. You don't have to switch instances. You can just go to your stronghold and back, and there's no timer on that.
oh really? That's all you
Yeah,
have to do?
yeah.
Okay,
That's how
let's see.
I did. I mean,
This
I've done it that way a couple times, and I just used my stronghold for it.
that's even better. I thought you had to like switch maps. So now see, this is I've only done it once so far. I'm learning. It's learning. Also, shout out to our Discord and our chat room here tonight. People popping in both of those places, saying hi and contributing. We really appreciate it. We've got the chat room going tonight. We did start up a little bit early because we didn't have ops tonight, and we had Stask on. So now I hopefully won't be up. Well, I'll probably still be up to 2 a.m. Get all jazzed up during the show. I'm like, oh, oh, so exciting talking to everybody. Then I'm up to like 2 a.m. So I'll walk it off after the show. Maybe get done a little bit early. So appreciate the chat room coming in early, and we'll still chat with you guys a little bit after the show. You can ask any other questions about GSF because that's what we're going to be talking about now.
Oh, good, I can't maneuver.
Stay on target.
We're too close.
Stay on target.
Loosen up.
I still laugh every time I hear that too. Loosen up. I also have I have a few different. I'm gonna have to play the other one, the Top Gun one, after the show because I realized it has the Top Gun music in it too. It's the Buzz the Tower one, but where I dubbed in You're My Names theme. So I'll play that one in the post show, but not in the middle of the show here when it goes up on YouTube because it'll probably get. I mean, we don't monetize anyway, but we'll get like a copyright.
Copy strike, yeah.
It's not really a copyright strike these days, so you don't actually get in trouble for it, but they do complain about it, and then it says, well, it's okay. You can still keep your video up. If you do ever monetize it, then Miramar or whatever the studio is going to take all your money. But feel free. That's basically what they say. So yes, GSF. We talked about just PvP in general, and we talked about should GSF be as part of the PvP track, and we weren't really getting into the details on tips and tricks and flying GSF, and I wanted to bring Stask on to drill down on that and talk about that quite a bit more. So let's get into that. The way I wanted to sort of go through it, we're not going to go through the basics of how, what the key binds are and that kind of thing. Maybe we'll pull a couple of the more obscure things out as tips, but I wanted to do it more with you, Stask, on what are the tips and tricks. And we can do it from the perspective of someone that's brand new and hasn't done it before and would like to get into it because these objectives do come around. And then maybe some tips for some people that have been playing for a while, even up to, hey, I even have my ships mastered, but just remind me of anything that I've forgotten. Definitely not for the pros. The pros, we're gonna let you guys do your own thing. So don't think that we're encroaching on your expert territory because I would not claim to be an expert. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. So yeah, why don't we go back and forth on some tips, and let's start from the perspective, Stask. So here I am. Pretend I have never played GSF before. I'm a Star Wars player. I'm relatively new to SWTOR. I have never played GSF before. What should I do? What do you do?
I think the first thing a lot of people should do is try that tutorial that's available in your mission window or your hangar window.
Yeah.
That question mark in the top right. If for nothing else, just get the feel of the controls, how the ship moves, how you move the ship, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you guys mentioned when Machete was on picking up that intro to GSF quest for your first match, we'll give you a fleet requisition token that will allow you to pretty much unlock every ship in the game that you don't buy with cartel coins.
Right.
And there's other stuff you can buy with your fleet rec if you prefer, but the sooner you get your ships unlocked and can start accruing requisition for your other ships, better off you'll be.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
there's those two kinds of currency just on that point. There's ship requisition and fleet requisition, and doing like the dailies and weeklies and doing different things will give you these tokens, either a ship requisition token or a fleet requisition token. Fleet requisition is more rare and more valuable because you unlock things like ships, you unlock co-pilots that give you a little extra, very minor bonuses and abilities. It's a little harder to come by. The ship requisition, though, when you click a ship requisition token, and this is what Stask is describing, it applies to every ship that you have unlocked, but only the ships you have unlocked. So that's why it's a great idea to use up that fleet requisition to unlock all of the ships that you want to be flying. And I don't unlock every ship. I only unlock the ships that I want right away on a new character. Even when I'm doing a character that's brand new that hasn't flown GSF before, there's two ships I fly that come with the that come default, and that's so on the Republic side, it's the Scout and the gunship. So I fly the Flashfire on the Republic side and the Quarrel, but then I also want the War Carrier and the Pike, the Strike Fighter, and the Bomber. And I typically only fly those 4 ships. I've got a couple extras, and you could have like a duplicate Scout that's got a tensor on it or something like that. But I typically just, I often, as you can see here, I only keep 4 on my dash. But I'll right away unlock the 2 extra ones that I'm looking for. So then any ship requisition tokens that I click, apply that currency to the ship requisition to those ships. And that's the currency you use to unlock components. So yeah. Okay. Sorry.
yeah, exactly that. Yeah, for new pilots, the one of the first ships you get is on the pub side. It's called the Star Guard. It's a strike fighter. On the imp side, it's a ricer. And those are, especially for a brand new pilot, those are very fine ships to learn because they can do a little bit of everything. They're certainly not great at any one thing, but you can kind of get the feel for the game and how those fly. And
Yeah, and strike fighters are a little bit sturdier.
yeah,
Yeah, and they have like missiles and guns, and so yeah, you can mess around and have a relatively good experience with a strike fighter. It's a nice all around ship.
very fine ship. I'm not sure who makes it, but if I did know, I would plug their company.
Probably Zerka or
Zerka. No, I would not get
Quat.
in it if it was a Zerka
Quat,
ship.
Quat drive
Kuat
yards.
would be a Kuat, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Quat makes a lot of
not
these.
craftsmanship.
I don't fly the Star Guard. I prefer the Pike, but it
Yeah,
is a good ship. Yeah.
I'm on a very heavy pike kick right now. I've been tinkering with that a lot lately, and I'm really enjoying flying that in death matches and sat battles. It's
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah, a little bit more advanced topic when you start getting into some of these ships. They're a little bit more specialized if you start to dig down into what weapons they have, and then it's the synergies between some of the weapons where things start to get interesting. So I use EMP missiles and proton torpedoes with a heavy laser cannon on my Pike, and I don't always do it like this because the proton torpedo has a much longer range. But if you hit them with an EMP missile first, it drains a lot of their energy. It takes some of their shield down, and then you hit them with a proton torpedo as they're like trying to escape from you because it's got a much longer range. You can keep them in lock, and they can't dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge as much. You can take out a lot of people that way. Getting used to what those synergies are between the various weapons that work together is where you start to get more advanced. So that's a more advanced topic. But yeah, so it's strike fighters. You recommend strike fighters? I often recommend to someone that's just getting started to if you just want to get in there and contribute, gunships. So I find gunships, because you can be a little bit further away, you sort of like stop so you can like see who you're targeting. You don't have to worry about like dogfighting, and you can do a fair amount of damage with a completely fresh off the block gunship. I've done, that's the first thing I'll fly on a newly unlocked character is a gunship, just to start getting the dailies and weeklies done.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd suggest that for brand new pilots because gunships tend to get focused fairly quickly, and
Hmm.
especially a stock gunship won't be able to hit hard enough to get them
To
before
kill
they
the
close
people
that gap.
before they
Yeah,
get you.
and
But
so
if you stay if you yeah, yeah, you would have to get used to it and where to position yourself, and we'll get into some of the tips on how to fly each of these ships too. But um, maybe you do have to be a little more experienced with it to not just feel like you're getting targeted constantly. But
right,
every time I die in a gunship, I just go a little bit further. I stop a little bit closer to the starting point because they'll keep coming for you, right? Well,
right.
then you end up basically at your spawn point where all the rest of your team is spawning, and you'll just end up murdering anybody that comes in there, which isn't that bad a deal.
Yeah,
So
a fine way to go.
don't don't fly into the middle of a battle with a gunship. That's uh, a good tip. What about scouts? Do you fly much scout but do you fly much scout at all? How much do you fly scouts?
I I do. I fly a little bit of everything,
Well,
and it
yeah,
kind of
so do
comes and
I.
goes in. Yeah, it kind of comes and goes in phases as to
And
what
the
I'm
conquest
currently
objectives
enjoying.
encourage flying everything as well. So I often fly everything when the conquest objectives line up that way. Um, but I don't prefer a scout as much these days. I used to like Flashfire used to be my ship, and I that's what I used to fly. This is going back like 5 years when GSF first came out. First ship I mastered. I was a master of the Flashfire. I could do a ton of damage with it. They nerfed it a bit, and it's a little squishier. And I think you get a little bit more out of some of the other ships these days. But what do you like a scout for? What do you do with your scout?
Uh, for the sap battles, I'll do the spear point at the beginning if nobody else is going to tensor, and the tensor will boost my speed, my engine recovery, as well as like my allies within a certain radius of me also.
Yep.
So it basically helps everybody get to the satellites faster and hopefully cap them faster. So
Yeah, and that is not the tens. There is no tensor on the Flashfire. You do that's where you might have like two scouts. One that's focused on like damage and missiles and that kind of thing, and then a second one that it's got that tensor for that buff to your team on speed and getting to the satellite quickly to cap it.
more of a support ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got the repair drone on it too, which is kind of nice. So you get to the set, and you drop the repair drone,
Yeah. Yeah, that is
heal
nice.
people. So that's usually what I use on that one. But I really enjoy still, even though they nerfed it, I really enjoy the flash fire.
Yeah, I still like the Flashfire.
So if you can get up on somebody, you can hit them pretty hard.
Yeah, and if they start trying to run from you, you can't run from a scout. So
Yeah.
that's always good. How about bombers? I fly bombers probably more than anything else these days, if I can.
Do
Um,
you fly the tick bomber usually? You hiding underneath the set with the mines out?
yeah, so I fly
Is
the
that your
war carrier, and I put out the repair drone, three mines, and the railgun sentry drone.
okay?
Drop
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you got to drop that railgun sentry drone. I drop it, like 12K out from the sat, and then sort of circle around underneath, tuck myself up underneath. But you can't underestimate the power of your. So I use heavy lasers as my blasters too. You don't want to underestimate your ability to, in addition to your drones, do some shooting, shoot people in the face.
yeah,
Because you can do a fair amount of shooting damage as well with that bomber, when people come up there and try to take you out.
yeah. I don't go with the mines on the work area. I use the protorps. So
Ah,
if I can get my heavy cannons and my protorps and the railgun still up too, it's pretty nasty.
if I'm
But
yeah, I'm if I'm playing really defensively with the bomber doing, just sitting on a satellite, that's why I prefer the mines. Because the proton
yeah,
torpedoes, you have to have line of sight, and you'd have a relatively good range on them, but you do have to be like a little bit more out and line of sight and that kind of thing. It's especially in a in a balanced um, domination satellite map. It can be almost relaxing to play the bomber because you just go there, you park, you put some repairs down, you help out your team that way. You get a bunch of medals because you've got all the defensives on the satellite, and you can still do a fair amount of damage because people will still come and try to harass the satellites. And if you're an entrenched bomber, it's very difficult to kill you as well.
yeah, you can just put a pot of coffee on, kick your feet up, and just watch people
uh,
explode.
I tend to, as soon as I get everything set and I'm like parked to hold down the satellite, I tend to switch all my power to shields also. Because people will, oh, there's a bomber under there. We got to dig out the bombers. They're coming after, so they'll be coming after you. But then you're like charged on shields. You got a repair drone on your, backing you up. It is hard. It is hard to kill when you've
Yep.
got that all going. Yeah, yeah. So those, I think you're right. For especially for a beginner, um, spend some time in the tutorial. So you hit H, you bring up the window. There's a question mark in the upper right. This is Galactic Starfighter tutorial level. Do it a few times. Do everything it's telling you to do. Try to understand what it's telling you to do. Maybe even look at the keybinds, the Starfighter keybinds in settings, which will then also give you some clues of what the controls are on the ship, because it will have you like target the satellite or target one of the drones on the satellite. That's something that it takes a while for people to understand when they're flying Galactic Starfighter the first time. Is you have to target things. It's the default keybind is E to target something that's in your line of sight that's in front of you. If you're just flying towards some other ship or flying towards us to somebody that's shooting you and they're coming straight for you, and you're just shooting and nothing is happening, that's probably because you haven't targeted them. I can't shoot them with my missiles. My lasers are doing nothing. You have to target. But you'll get to practice that. You'll get to practice driving your ship around and how to what the different key controls do. And it takes a little while to get the feel of it. So that's the basics. And then if you can, and we've talked about this before, we were talking about it in the pre-show, uh, if you can get like a group of people to help you out, and you can get at least 4 people, 2 on one side and 2 on the other, you can have 2 groups. Just so two people form a group, the other 2 people form a group. The group leader of one group challenges the group leader of the other group within PvP challenge mode to a GSF match, and you guys can go in there then and practice. And I would recommend, if you're going to do that you go in there with the intent to practice, and the person who's new, don't shoot them. It's just like ask to not be shot, and have the other people like fly around so that you can like chase them and try to figure out where you're at and get a sense of position, because it's a 3D space and you can be completely upside down and not know what's going on and everything looks weird. But once you do that a few times in a few different maps, you start to get better sense of position and awareness of where things are, and where you are on the map, and how to glance at the mini map and see who's close to you, and how to, when somebody does start shooting you and their pip on around the outside of your screen, you can get, is like it's smaller or bigger. You'll know how to turn your ship to face where they're coming from. A lot of that kind of thing. It takes a while to get used to it, and doing in that kind of challenge mode is really good.
I mean, just understanding where you are on the map and how to get to another place that you intend to get to is huge.
Right. and how to not slam into asteroids.
Yeah.
Space potatoes.
Ma- it- every ship has an evasive maneuver of some kind. So there's like the barrel roll, and the barrel roll, you have to understand what your evasive maneuver does and maybe switch to a different evasive maneuver. In fact, I often switch my evasive maneuvers right off the bat. So if you look under components, components in it's engines, right? No,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's
is it
engines is
engines?
your
Yeah,
missile
engines.
brake.
Yeah. So your evasive maneuver, I usually use barrel roll, except for a couple ships, I'll use retro thrusters. But you have to understand what your evasive maneuver does, because there's like the Koi Koigara
K-turn. K-turn.
K turn.
Yeah. just-
Koigran. Koiogran. What does that spell, Seema?
No idea.
Koyogran turn. Basically, it's like a that one's a 180 degree flip turn, and then you can like go back in the other direction. And then there's the other one is that the power drive is the power dive is a 90-degree turn, and then barrel roll is you just shoot ahead really fast, and then retro thrusters is you go in reverse for a little bit, and then you go back forward. If you're not used to that evasive maneuver on your ship, that's what slams you into asteroids. So you'll hit your evasive maneuver on your keyboard because somebody targeted you with a missile. So you want to break that missile lock. So you hit your evasive maneuver, and if you were expecting to blast forward and your ship makes a left turn into you'll end up smashing into an asteroid. Or if you expect to be making a left turn and you just blast forward, you slam into a wall. That's the biggest thing that I find runs people into asteroids. So oftentimes I would almost recommend find one, get used to it, get used to that evasive maneuver, and only use that one and switch all of your ships to it, because then it'll be easier muscle
Oh,
memory and
okay.
just knowing where you're at and what it's going to do when you hit that evasive maneuver button, because you want to be hitting it quite often because it does break missile lock.
Yes.
Advanced topics, something like the retro thrusters. Do you do that, Stask, where you do the retro thrusters to keep missile lock longer?
Um, I use retro thrusters. I think I'm going to start to move away from them because some of the other missile breaks will give you a couple seconds on the other side of them as a immunity to missile locks.
Yeah.
3, 4, and 5 seconds. You don't get that with retro thrusters. And I think I've finally figured out how to not to back into space potatoes with retro thrusters.
Yeah.
So naturally, that's when I'm going to stop using them.
Right.
I finally
Right,
got it figured
right.
out.
You do have to know what's behind you, so you don't, yeah.
Yeah, you
Back
have to
up,
have a.
back up. And
And there's been quite a few times where I've thought I've been just clear of whatever I just passed, and I'll catch it like just at the back end of that throwback.
yeah,
And it's not a
right.
good feeling.
The biggest use of retro thrusters is slightly more advanced topic. You don't have to worry about it as a beginner, but is it enables you to get a longer time to get your missile lock and get a missile off. In fact, you can fly, and this is why I have it on my Scout. You can fly, nose in, and you could be going head to head with somebody, and they're trying to fly past you before your missile can lock, so that they don't get shot by your missile. You hit retro thrusters, and you'll back up while they're still coming towards you, and you'll get that extra second to get your missile lock and get a missile off, and then you'll blast past them, and then you can flip and then shoot them in the back. But it's
Or even I use retro thrusters on my Star Guard, and I pair it with ion cannons and heavy lasers.
Yeah.
And so I get if I can hit them a couple times with the ion cannon and then hit my retro thrusters if they're locking on me and switch to the heavies, it's pretty solid kill
And
most
then-
of the time.
Right, exactly. You're still facing them. You're still, you're still doing damage. It's a more offensive, evasive maneuver. I just looked on well, at least on the flash fire, the retro thruster does have 3-second missile lock prevention.
No way.
Yeah. But maybe it doesn't on some of the other ones. Evades missile lock when activated, and uh, boosting evasion from direct fire weapons by 24% and preventing missile locks for 3 seconds.
Liar out of me.
But you have to look, they might
That
operate slightly
does.
differently by ship too.
It might be the 3 seconds starts when they activate the ability, so that by the time they finish the snapback and the come forward, because
Then you're, then
yeah,
it's practically worn
it's
off by then.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
but yeah, so that's a good one. So if you had to just pick one ship, well, let's do this. So I mentioned I fly all the ships and you fly all the ships, especially for conquest. If you look at the conquest objectives, am I logging out because I was sitting there on the screen too long for the? I was clicking even.
no,
Hey,
that doesn't count as activity.
the heck, do you mean? Um, so if you're now I lost my train of thought because it was locking me out. Flying ships, conquest. Let's look at the conquest targets for this week. Is it on this week where you got to fly all 4 ships? Yep. So gunship
Yeah.
pilot, striker pilot, I'm sure bomber and scout as well. It's a one-time now. It's not repeatable anymore. But yeah, if you fly 5 matches with a gunship and 5 matches with a striker pilot, each of the 4 ship types, you get 37K conquest points. So a nice way to get a whole bunch of conquest points, especially when you're trying to get them, is to fly every ship, and you can fly all 4 ships in each match, assuming you die 3 times, which I don't always. And then I'm trying to fly extra ships, and I'm like, wait, maybe I just need to run myself into a wall or something. 'Cause I've been sitting under this satellite with the war carrier, and nobody's coming and fighting me. I'm not going to fly my other ships. But if you fly 5, if you so you, technically, if you flew 5 matches and you flew all 4 ships in each of those 5 matches, then you're getting 150K extra conquest points, which is nice. But if you had to pick one ship for the satellite map for domination, and you only got to fly one, what would you fly for that, Stask?
For a sat battle, like
Yeah,
right now, or is
yeah.
this I only get one ship for the rest of my life?
No, just to we're going into a battle now, but you only get to pick one ship for just this one round.
I would actually probably go with my Quarrel, the gunship,
Mm.
because I'm very close to 100% on my Chivos for GSF, and 2 of the medals I need yet are the Demolisher and the Siege medals,
Yep.
which are blowing up turrets on the Sats.
Yeah. It,
So that's pretty easy thing. It's hard to do because I think those 2 medals are for 6 and 8, and it's hard to sit out there and just snipe
yeah.
turrets that often. So that's why those are the 2 I haven't finished yet.
Sometimes you'll get a match where everything lines up, and the other team will play well. You need them to be playing well, so they're holding 2 satellites for one, but you needed them to be playing defensively as well, so they're not flying out and killing you constantly. And
Right.
then you can pick a whole bunch of them off. And if you, I love to do this. I've gotten some of the highest damage total numbers, up in the 70K range, flying my Quarrel and doing the ion railgun on a defensive game like that. And because when you max out the ion railgun, it basically has a dot that hits everything. It's like an AOE burst. So you won't kill satellites very quickly, but you'll do a ton of damage to, especially if it's a bomber, like 2 bombers underneath there, and all of the turrets and all of their mines and everything. you'll well, like, one shot from the ion cannon, and you'll be doing, like 5K damage because it's like this burst, that, like, hits everything, in an AoE spread. So that's kinda
It's
fun.
fun.
Yeah, I would probably if I was gonna do a domination match, I would probably bring my bomber, if I was gonna pick one ship. As I said, I fly it. It's valuable, it serves a good role. Gunships are really important. All roles are important. You need all of those ships there. You're not gonna win a domination battle, satellite battle with just gunships because you gotta cap the satellites. You're not gonna win a domination battle with just bombers because you need to be killing the other team. uh, so having the DPS front line, having the bombers for defense, and having the gunships for air cover tends to work really well, and it's a good setup for that. How about for people that aren't familiar, there's 2 modes, there's 2 games that you're playing, basically. You're either playing that, where there's these 3 giant satellites, and they have these 3 little turrets that charge up or appear over time the longer you hold it, and your job is to take control of 2 or 3 of those satellites, and as whatever satellites you're holding, you're accruing points, and the first team to get to to max out the points, or who has more points by the end of the timer goes off, wins. So it's more of like a king of the hill kind of thing, and you're killing the other team to keep them off their satellite. The only other mode, now there's different maps, so it's like different scenery and different maze to fly through, but the only other mode is a deathmatch mode. First team to get 50 kills, or whichever team has more kills by the end wins. So we just talked about satellite. What we would fly in satellite. What would you fly in a death match if you just had to pick one ship?
I'd probably go with my pike. Those are pretty sturdy. I always build my pike like a tank. Heavy
Yeah,
damage and heavy armor, and it's nice having 2 missiles and ammo for both of them.
I would
And then just refilling when I can. And I think some of my best deathmatch battles have been in the pike lately.
I would agree with that. I would probably bring the pike as well. Uh, most you'll see more strike fighters than anything else in those deathmatch battles, just because it's that more of that head-to-head fighter dogfight style ship. Every once in a while, I'll switch to a bomber or gunship as well. But some of the maps just aren't set up well for gunships. Some of the maps aren't set up well for bombers. If your team has good positioning and good control, and you can get like a nice spot in the middle of the map for your bomber to both lay mines and have repairs out for your team, that can be valuable. If it's one of the more open maps, you can make some good use of the gunships, but some just don't. Just are not good for that. And then strike fighters, a nice dogfight ship and fun to fly. I noticed I don't have the achievement for getting a bunch of the power ups. And so I've been thinking of like when I fly my pike, I should focus on that and get that achievement done.
That's when you fly a scout and you
That's
just
true.
fly all over
Just
the
just
map and just
zip
collect the
just zip
power
around and
ups.
just
Yeah, just
I was thinking of making
don't bother with
use
anything else going on.
making use of the power ups too. But yeah, no,
Oh,
I guess
well, well, get the
but
engine
scout
power ups then.
but
Go
the
for the
scout,
purple
yeah.
ones
This I
and
mean
just fly all over.
yeah, you can do plenty of damage as a scout and then just zip on out of there. You gotta hit and run with a scout. That's kind of how you run with the scout.
Right.
Um, let's see. Anything else? Any other top tips that you want to go through? I've got a couple other listed here, but I think we've hit some of the fun stuff.
Well, our GSF group, some of those of us that have been flying together frequently now are trying to work on how to fly together as a team
Yeah,
and really how to make use of that. Uh, Part of that is just not just being aware of where you are on the map and where your team is on the map, especially in some of those death matches. Um,
yes,
and there are people out there that will bait you into chasing them, and before you know it, you're right in the enemy's kill zone,
yeah,
and um, you're dead, which It's the opposite of the objective of a death match. So
So
you don't want to do that.
here's one of my pro tips for deathmatch, even for people that have been playing a long time. And I see this. I see people that can get out there and they can do 70K damage a match. Deathmatch is about whichever team dies less. It is not about however many people you kill if you're dying as many times as you kill people. And I'll see these people out there that are like these, these murderers with, being able to do high damage, and they've got a kill count of 8, but they died 6 times. And I've got a kill count of 4 in my, with my gunship or whatever, and I've died 0 times. My kill death ratio is better than theirs, and it doesn't look like it. It looks like they're like, carrying the weight. Their 6 deaths is what's going to lose us the match. So people don't understand. You need to play defensively. You need to play with your team. You need to bait the other team into yours. You diving in and killing 2 and dying once is a net 1. And even if you're that good that you can get 2 kills off, you diving in and killing 1 and getting killed is a net 0. You might as well just you might as well have just stayed parked at the home base. But so people don't get that. I don't mean to sort of sound a little salty there.
Deathmatch, you just want to be a net positive for your team.
Right.
You want to be in the plus column.
And if you can do that by hanging back too, staying alive, taking some pot shots, supporting your team, and then when the other team is doing that thing where they're diving in, is then helping the cleanup and helping get those people dead. Another thing I find really frustrating is, I'm a little overextended. I get a couple shots off on somebody, I can't finish them off, and I'm heading back towards our spawn point, and I fly like a Blue Angels formation. I fly right in between, wingtip to wingtip for like 2 other people, who are coming out of the spawn point with a enemy team right on my tail, and they just float on by because they're trying to get to the center of the map where all the rest of the people are, where they're going to get some shots in. So they just drive on by and just let me get blown up and let the guy get away. If somebody's flying towards you with someone hot on their tail, shoot the guy that's flying towards you. Shoot them both.
I mean, if you do, you'll be a hero.
Yes. Because you'll have saved your team from a death, and you'll get a kill, and you'll be net 1 instead of net -1. It's a team sport as well. So yeah, that would be interesting, Stask. And it is difficult. Even having flown for a long time, you can get overextended. You can get out in the middle of the map, and because there is no up or down. There kind of is an up or down plane to the map, but your ship doesn't care about up or down. You could be flying upside down. You can get yourself turned around and upside down, and then you're trying to like head back to base, and you realize you're just going like deeper into enemy territory. And at that point, I'm like, all right, fine, gunships backline. You go ahead, take me.
Right.
I'm done. So yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see you guys get some formations, stick closer together. Because you will get a lot more kills that way when people stay together and pick a target and communicate and then regroup after sort of each altercation.
Right.
Know where your support is, know where your bombers are with repairs, go and repair up in the middle. You can do a lot of good that way.
Yeah, we haven't quite gotten to formations, but it's more of just calling out where stuff is. Like if we got somebody on a bomber, letting everybody know where the repairs are.
Yeah.
Or if they're moving them, stuff like that. Just communicating between each other to what's going on.
And I do like to use the gunships as support too. I'll always keep an eye on where the gun, there's like a couple gunships on our side and where they've set up, so that if I do start needing to pull back, or I've got 2 on me, I head towards the gunships, because they don't need to be close. They can be 15,000 meters away, and then they'll take out, and because that's what they tend to do. They're waiting for people to come in range. So if I draw a couple people into their range, or draw somebody on my tail into their range, they will often take them out for you.
Yep.
They won't just go flying on by because they're parked waiting for targets.
It's all gunships do.
Yep. Gunships. So yeah, that's my tips on gunships is find a good place to set up where you've got good line of sight. Wait for people to come to you. Take a couple shots, get a kill or two in, and then move. You can't stay always in one place in a gunship either because people will on the other team. The gunships are a little bit squishier too, a little bit of a glass cannon. They'll come after you, and if they know where you are, they'll spot you and they'll go, okay, let me finish what I'm doing, then I'm going to go take out that gunship. So if you keep moving and you keep moving around, you stay alive a little bit longer. And then my other advanced topic on the gunships is to set up on behind cover and use your strafe while you're stopped to just be like peeking out, and you can charge up your cannons, your ion cannon or your railgun while you're behind cover and while you're strafing out. So you can like be charging, floating out, and then you've got line of sight while your cannon's charged. You get that shot off on an enemy gunship that that knew you were there but couldn't shoot you because you were behind the rock, and you could shoot them, and then you float back. That's a nice little fun trick.
Fun for you, not fun for the other guy.
I got killed. I was in a dogfight behind cover with another gunship, and because of server sync, this person was quite good. He like whoever was flying it did that float strafe charge, and because of server sync was able to, and I was charging and I knew they were charging, float out, and shoot me even before I could target them, and they were not in line of sight of me. I was in line of sight of them because they were strafing out, and server sync, they got line of sight before the server could tell me that they were in my sight range because I was not behind cover. So you can do that. I think we've already gone over some tips on the bomber. Strike fighter, you got two secondary weapons there. You got two kinds of missiles often. Use them both, and there's a reason to use them both, as we mentioned on that. Scouts, tensor. Yeah, I'm bad about that. I never fly a scout with a tensor. I should.
Hey, there's usually one in the group
Yeah,
that
it really
is
helps
on
when
their
there
bar.
is.
Yeah.
If you're new, though, on both of the kinds of matches, if you're relatively new, another tip I have on that is at the start of the match, do not, hold down W and space and blast out and get ahead of the pack and get out there because you'll be the first one targeted and you'll die. Hang back. Watch where your team is going. Watch where they are on the mini map. Don't even, just like hold down W and don't boost. Let them get ahead of you. Get the lay of the land. See where people are going. If you didn't start, there's often 2 or 3 places to start on your side of the map as well. If you didn't start where everyone else started, take a left turn and go and follow behind where they are going, and don't be the first one out there. Unless you're prepared to take on 2 or 3 enemies that are coming for you and they're going after the first target that gets in range of them. Unless you're prepared for that, don't be first.
Just remember the second mouse gets the cheese.
Yes, there you go. That's a pro tip right there. And we all know that the point is the cheese.
That is right.
Cheese.
Let's see. Anything else? Know the objectives. Watch where your team is. Change ships if you need to fly those extra ships. You can change ships in between. Deathmatch, don't die. That was my big tip there. More if you want to get a little bit more advanced, you can go to any of the websites. There's a couple websites. GSF hasn't changed very much in the last 5 years in terms of abilities and ship types. So you
Hasn't
can
changed all in 8 years.
Yeah. So you can go to the old forum posts for like ship loadouts and they're all relatively current and good. But what you'll want to start looking at is who should be your crew. You're picking a pilot and a co-pilot because your Your co-pilot gives you an ability on your bar, one of the 4 abilities. You'll wanna be doing that mindfully. So here I have like Kira Carson on um, my scout, and Kira Carson gives me the instant ability called In Your Sights, which is a 1-minute cooldown, but it zeroes in on your target, reducing their evasion by 20% for 20 seconds. So basically, you get a lot higher ratio of shots landing, and you can kill somebody much more easily. But you need to mindfully pick the right co-pilot, and those build sites will tell you which ones to pick. And then you need to be using those abilities. And that's the difference between the people that are out there doing, getting a handful of kills and doing 20k damage, and then you see those people at the top of the charts getting like, 80k damage and 10, 12 kills, and you go, they must be hacking. I see the people in chat. There's no way. That's impossible. They're hackers. They're they're using exploits. No, they're not. They're not. They're using their weapons and abilities. They're using things in the right order. They're grabbing the charge ups, and they're like popping their abilities on cooldown to get those kills in. And they know what to do. If somebody, which never happens. I mean, if somebody was hacking, you would see people once in a while get like 500k damage, and that doesn't happen. People don't do that. It doesn't exist. There aren't hacks. You got any like favorite co-pilots or any of those kind of abilities that you tend to go after?
I find myself ending up with Slicer's Loop on there a lot. I'm not
Mm,
sure how effective it is, but I do like the Hydro Spanner because you get a little bit more survivability
yeah,
on
that's
that.
like a little repair for yourself. I think Blizz
Right.
gives you that, right? Um,
There's a couple of them that do.
yeah.
Um,
I Slicer's Loop, I think, got nerfed a little bit a couple years ago or a year ago, just a little bit, but it's still a good ability. Um, I'm seeing here on my Strike Fighter, I'm using Bypass, which increases shield piercing, which means more of your
that's
damage goes directly to hull. On my bomber, I'm also using Bypass, and on my gunship, I'm using Bypass. So, oh no, I'm not. I lied. What am I using? It's my co-pilot. No, my co-pilot is Treek. How can my co-pilot be Treek and Treek's not unlocked? That doesn't make sense. That's weird. My bomber, it's Kendra. Oh no, I'm using running interference, which is evasion. So that's a defensive ability. Again, because my bomber's job is to stay alive and be defensive and hold down the satellite. So I'm using running interference then, which increases my evasion by 15% for 20 seconds. And it applies to the 2 nearest allies within 3,000 meters of your ship. That's a nice little ability. And then, yeah, on my pike, on my strike fighter, I'm using bypass. That gets frustrating. I just logged out again. Stop doing
Would you
that.
guys say that when you play GSF, the games are more strategic or tactical than when you do war zones? Like I understand in both kinds of games you have goals for each type of map, but it sounds like in GSF it's more important, or am I just reading into that?
I feel like that's accurate. Um, but it depends. There
Mm,
is a lot more strategy to GSF, I think.
I don't
But it kind of
know.
depends on your team.
If you have, nah, I would say there's more in PvP myself. If you just because, I mean, like picking targets, calling CCs, coordinating off heals, even like in an arena 4v4 match, there's a ton of coordination that's has to happen to succeed. And then in a regular war zone, if if you're trying to get through the doors on, like each of the games has specific objectives, and if you're trying to coordinate to complete those objectives, um, there's a lot more opportunity for strategy and positioning and playing together and playing the objectives. I feel in the Warzone matches. I don't know. There probably could be as well in PvP, but I feel like in PvP, even with the best laid plans, you do end up just like spreading out, and everybody like has to like keep like grouping back up, and there aren't as many like there's a plan until you hit the first enemy, and then all the plans go away. Where in PvP
Yeah.
is you need to stick to the plan. We're gonna CC the healer as much as we can, keep them locked down, and then we've got to get that sentinel dead, and then we'll get the healer taken out, and then we'll take out the 2 assassins. And then you keep calling out, okay, you know, I've got a CC on cooldown. I'm gonna CC the healer. Blah 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 blah. And if you don't stick to the plan, you don't keep coming back to the plan, you die. I don't know. You don't find that to be the case, Stask, because you're
No,
doing both.
I don't know. I see a lot of quite the dance go on in GSF. Some of the good matches against some of the better pilots, and there usually seems to be like a back line of the gunship set up. Bombers are strategically placed, and then you'll have like a handful of scouts or strikes kind of making their way through and try to drag people back into the gunship's range.
Yeah,
And I've certainly been in several war zones where none of that stuff that you just described was happening,
true,
and
true.
somebody still won.
Yeah,
right,
true,
right. Well,
true.
But I guess you could argue that for GSF as well. Somebody is still going to win.
Right, right.
and I think when you said no plan survives first contact, I think sometimes in GSF the initial plan won't survive first contact, but then you kind of regroup and adapt and develop a new strategy a lot of times, whether it's moving the group
and you've
or
been flying with
switching
other people
ships,
more. I
or
I
lately, yeah.
I feel like if you're pugging it, in war zones, you can still get like, okay, West Door, we need help here, or somebody come to grass, and you can call that kind of stuff out. But in GSF, in a pug group, it's like Wild
Doesn't
West.
happen.
Nothing, you could tell them, no, group up, just stay together, guys, and there's just like people off all over the map, and hey, we've got gunships back here, and they don't care. They're just like flying all over the place.
I hear you, but I have this asteroid I have to run into.
You know, I mean, the worst, and you see this all the time, is you're playing against the other team. It's kind of balanced, but you're winning. You've got 2 satellites in a domination match, and you'll have like 2 or 3 of your people out of 8 that are going to go try to cap the 3rd satellite. It's relatively balanced. That means you're going to lose something. You're not going to 3 cap them and hold all 3 satellites. So then you're going to slowly start capping one of theirs. They're going to take one of yours. It slows down the whole match, and you just like either you're now going to lose, or it's just going to take longer and you have a chance of losing. Whereas if you held your 2 satellites, stuck to the plan and didn't get like antsy going off doing your own thing, you would like win every time. But they don't. People don't do that. Also frustrates me. This is why I can't do the PvP season.
That's why I can't do the PvP season.
Vibrating
Getting
here.
his feelings.
No. All right.
Well, there is some value though, like in a scenario like that, if you have 2 sats and one's getting rushed really hard, there is some value in having a gunship go to the one sat that isn't controlled by your team.
Yes.
Start popping some turrets to maybe
could,
peel some
you could
support.
have like one person, do some harassment so that maybe they'll shout out and pull some of their other team back. Yes, but that's not what happens. You'll have like 3 people go fly to that other, and then while your satellite's getting lost. So.
Correct. Yeah, I'm talking about in theory though, not
right.
practical applications.
Right.
Yeah, why be practical?
And this is with the with the pug group. If you actually have
Right.
people that you can talk to, especially in voice, then things tend to work better. Okay, well, this has been good. We went a little bit long on this, but this is fun stuff to talk about.
It didn't feel long to me.
If you want to hear more, join on Wednesday nights and join on Friday nights. Get some of that flying in with Stask on the Fridays in particular. Not tomorrow, but in general. And then sometimes on Wednesdays too, when there's some extra objectives to go after. And just random times during the week too. Everybody goes and flies once in a while. So we've got a fair amount of it going on.
It's a fun crowd of people too.
Yes. Good people. Good stuff, good people.
I agree.
I think with that, just make sure everybody knows with our EPC 465, that's what we're doing. Ready to go to broadcast this. Make sure everybody knows where to come find us is aie-guild.org. On our main website there to get to our SWTOR channels is the Discord link. There's a SWTOR section. Because we're going on both sides, everything goes through Discord. We're all in Starforge. We can get you a guild invite, but you don't have to be in the guild to come fly with us or to go to our Tuesday night events. Just come jump in our Discord, say hi, and we'll pull you in. For podcast information, all the feed and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com and on YouTube/newoverlords for the videos. You can also come chat with us in our Discord, the show Discord, which is newoverlords.com/Discord. Follow if you want the alerts on when things are going live and when things get published. You can still follow on Twitter while it still exists at Max the Gray, and our channel handle is at the New Overlords. We'll keep you up to date there too. And as we said, aie-guild.org. We'd love to have you there. We'd love to have you in the game. We'd love to have you come fly with Stask and team. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.